Morning everyone, welcome back to another episode of Allotment Days. You can probably hear it's howling a little bit. It's nice and bright this morning, but there's quite a breeze. And I thought I'd just give you a quick look around the two greenhouses so we can look in more detail at what I'm sowing and growing. Okay, I'll catch you after the intro. Cheers. Morning, thanks for joining me again, and you can probably hear the birds in the background. It's a lovely morning. We're just looking at the rhubarb. We're in the main working greenhouse just by the door. This is where I do most of my sowing, and I just thought I'd mention the rhubarb again, as I often do. It's proving difficult to tame this year. We've taken about 107 sticks. My cousin Ron, he's making some wine with about half of that quantity. And my wife and my daughter have been making some rhubarb and lemon marmalade. That's at home, and we've already started tucking into that, and it's really nice. But this is the greenhouse. And I've got the door open, so it's quite warm in here. But some of the plants, like the tomatoes, actually benefit from the breeze that finds its way into the greenhouse. It does help them to strengthen the stems, the main growing stem. So from time to time they're given a good rattling by the breeze, and that's really good. As you can see, I've actually thinned the tomato plants out. They were all on the top there, on the top level of the bench, but I've actually put about 40% of them on the bottom. And that's because, really, when you're growing your tomatoes on the growing bench, you shouldn't allow the leaves of each plant to touch one another, because as soon as that happens, they start to shade one another, and that just promotes growth. You know, they're searching, racing for the light, and you don't want that. You want to keep them nice and stocky. So it's a little bit more shaded underneath, but it's better than them all being really tightly packed on the top. And as I've said before, I've got a mixture of cherries and beefsteaks and one or two standard tomatoes as well. But I've got some quite exotic beefsteaks. I've got the hillbilly and the brandy boy that I always grow, and the Paul Robeson. But I've also got a new one this year is pink brandywine. I think I showed you that in the previous update. But I've got orange Wellington as well, which grew quite well last year. I've also got a country taste. I think there's one just there. That's a hybrid tomato, but it does produce some really nice, quite tasty beefsteaks. It's a red one, but reliable. So they're the tomatoes, and over on this side of the greenhouse you can see that the lettuce is dominating. Not going to go on about the lettuce because I always talk about it, other than to say I've taken a cut of the mixed red and green, and I'll be taking some more of that today. You saw in the last update that I sowed a watering tray of Symphony. That's a red frilly lettuce, but I have also since then, I think it was yesterday, I sowed another tray of the red and green lettuce. Most of the first sowings of brassicas have been pricked out, and if you look over here you can see at the back we've got some Evesham special Brussels sprouts, and then at the front here we've got, you can't quite see the labels but I'll tell you what they are. We've got 9 Ironman and 6 Covina broccoli. Then over here we've got 4 6-celled trays of Savoy cabbage, Traviata at the back, and January King at the front. Some more Evesham special Brussels sprouts just there as well, and the kohlrabi seed arrived from Mole Seeds, so I've got 2 little trays there with about 15 or 16 seeds in each. One is called Ballot and the other is called Cref. There's one red and one green variety. And then if we just look here, let's see what we've got here. we've got 11 early purple sprouting broccoli plants just there. Right, so that's the main sowing greenhouse. We'll have a look at the long greenhouse, which has become a little bit of an overspill area for the stuff that I start in here. So we'll look at that now. Right, well, it's got quite breezy now, so I've closed the door. You might hear it howling through the gap. But this is the 10-foot by 8-foot section at the front of the long greenhouse on the long plot. And you can see I've just pricked out some pak choi and tatsoi. The tatsoi is the darker green one just here, and the pak choi is the one on the side there. We've got some radish in a bucket at the front here. Again, we've taken maybe half a dozen or so from there, and there's some more ready to take today. You can see I'm using every little bit of available space. I've got some butternut hawk squash there, some green sprouting broccoli, basil and a few zucchini. This is basically all old seed that I wanted to use up. And then just in front of us here we've got the first sowing of spring onion. Now last year and the year before, when I grew spring onion in the watering trays, I did them in little clumps. Started them off in like a module cell tray and then transplanted them. Well, this year I just did them in rows, and I thought I'd just take, you know, 1 or 2 out, or as many as I needed, as and when I needed them. Then to the side here you can see that the red kitten spinach is ready to start harvesting. So we do like this in stir fries, but it goes in nice with other mixes as well when you're doing rice dishes and things like that. On the right you can see that the cucumbers are doing quite well. I think we've got about 15 left. The snails have got 2, but we managed to find that snail and dispatched him. Some rainbow chard, sowed far too many, but I think it's probably only the first or second time that I've grown the chard, but I thought I'd try some. The butternut squash, the hunter variety, as I said, I think in the last update that arrived, so I've got a dozen plants there sown, but that was only done yesterday. At the front here, what have we got? We've got some more Brussels sprouts, and that variety is Windsor, and then we've got some Primo 2 cabbage there as well. Just here in this watering tray we've got the first sowing of seed, and it was old seed, and some of it didn't germinate, so I did another tray just to the side there on the left, and I only did that 3 or 4 days ago, but a couple of plants have come through, but we'll have enough, that's the main thing. And then over here on the right we've got some multi-sown spring onions, and this variety is ready on the left there. And then to the side we've got some of the small white turnip snowball, which is ideal for grating into salads. It's a tiny one, you can harvest it when it's small. And then just down here on the floor, a second sowing of radish. If we move on into the warmer section at the back, you can see that things are coming on here okay as well. It's really warm in here. Whew. It must be about 30 degrees, and I'm wearing a fleece, so it's quite warm. On the left here we've got the sunflowers. These are the giant varieties. I think the varieties are Italian white, giant single, and red sun and autumn beauty. We've got 5 pots here at the front. We've got some basil and some courgette. Again, this was old seed, and it's not as yet, in these 3, it's not as yet germinated, and it may not. So we'll see. I think we will have courgette from the I did sow, I think, 1 packet of fresher seed, so we should be okay. Sweet corn's doing great. Out of the 48 that I sowed, the first batch, I think I've got 41 that have germinated. And I know many of you have the same experience as me, and you know, this can be quite erratic as a seed when it comes to germination, and I've never really worked out why. It's always fresh seed that I sow. Some years I get 40% germination, other years 90%, and this year it's probably about 85%, so I can't really grumble. But I have also done this variety, incidentally, because it's not marked, was early bird, and I have incidentally just sown another watering tray of sweet corn, and this one is lark, and this is to go in one of the raised beds as opposed to a full bed on the ground. The dwarf sunflowers here on the right, teddy bear and Pacino, they've not done too bad. We'll have enough sunflowers. And over here we've got half a dozen pots of sweet pea, and I think I put 4 or 5 peas in each pot, and we might be looking at 3. So I've got some metal structures on the no-dig plot, the top plot. Tall things they are, a little bit like the Eiffel Tower, that kind of shape. So I'll plant each pot. I've got 5 of them, 5 of the structures, and I'll put 1 pot in the centre of each and feed the plants upwards. We're very slow when it comes to peppers and aubergine. I think 2 of these are aubergine and 2 are pepper. I did a re-sowing of peppers at home, and I've got 3 or 4 at home. 5 gherkin plants, and these are very prolific. I made the mistake of doing about 20 plants the year before last, and we were overwhelmed. They were like triffids. So, and then finally, down here at the bottom, we've got 6 3-litre pots here in this watering tray and 2 at the side here. And these are dahlias. Now Ron normally takes the dahlias home and keeps them in his greenhouse. He did that this year, and they've met an untimely end because he had fungal growth on them, and 90% have rotted in the greenhouse. He's got about half a dozen plants which he's decided to keep at home, so I've had to buy some fresh plants. And we've got 4 varieties here. There are only 8 tubers here, but they've not all arrived yet. We've got about another 4 to come. So the varieties are Mambo, we've got 2 of those I believe, Nicholas, the Bishop of Auckland, and Julie 1. So you'll see that I've just put pictures up of each flower and what it looks like, and the last one, Julie 1, that's my wife's name, Julie, so that's in honour of her. Right, so that's the greenhouses. I'll just turn you back round slowly. Yeah, I'm starting to wilt now in here, so I'm going to finish up, do a little bit of watering and do a little bit of harvesting. But that's it for this update. As I said, it was a brief one. With a bit of luck, we might be down to about 10 or 11 minutes. Okay, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.